Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Welcome back, everybody. Toker Talk Radio, Hour 2 of the Russ Belville Show, live for those of you listening on 420radio.org, on TuneIn Radio, or the 420 Radio app. And you can catch the replays, the archives, on 420radio.org as well. Hanging out here in Rolla J Studios, and a big shout out going to our friends at Strong Silicone. Strong Silicone, responding to the pleas of Herb Thrasher for a bong I cannot break. There we go, folks. Cannot break this bong. There's no possibility that Radical Russ can break his 4th studio bong this year. It's not going to happen. Thanks to the folks at Strong Silicone. And listening on the radio, of course, you can't see it, but it's just a tube bong, about 16 inches tall, standard, size, that you'd expect from like a glass, but it's nice, strong silicone, like the name says. And you can squeeze it. It's interesting to be able to squeeze a bong. And as you're taking the hit, right, you can kind of feel it in your hand because your hand's up against the water on that kind of pliable silicone, right? Got a nice round base, about, what is that, 4 inches, 4-inch round base, pretty topple proof. And best of all, it's glow in the dark. We have a glow in the dark bong for Rolla J Studios to go with our glow in the dark kind ashtray. We got the complete glow in the dark paraphernalia thing going on. That's all right by me. I don't have a lot of time to talk in this second hour because we have so much from the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference to get to. Coming up next, Ted Rowe, master grower here in Oregon, on Oregon cannabis production law. Then we'll have our daily Toker tunes for Electric Tuesday. Electric Bob will be calling in. We'll get some electronically infused music. And then we close the hour out with the question and answer session with Representative Leininger and Senator Prozanski from the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference. Coming up tomorrow, we will have, hopefully, our Hump Day with Doug Fine calling in. And then Thursday and Friday, still working on some of the bookings. But coming up next week, very excited to announce on Tuesday, we'll be speaking with Steve D'Angelo from Harborside Health Center and his book, The Cannabis Manifesto.
America's RR7 secret agent of progressive change. The name's Belville. Russ Belville. This is the Russ Belville Show.
Yes. On my way to the Boston Freedom Rally next weekend. Not this weekend. September 26th, 27th, I'll be there speaking at the Freedom Rally, getting interviews, getting recordings. So many events coming up after that. Las Vegas Hemp Fest the following week, as well as the Dope Cup pre-party here in Portland. I'll be at the Oregon Hemp Convention the following weekend. The weekend after that, Virginia Normal Conference in Richmond, Virginia. The entire schedule is available at 420radio.org/schedule.
As a police officer, I walked the beat, served on the vice squad and SWAT team, and became an expert on drug addiction. I saw firsthand the effects of Ohio's destructive marijuana laws. Simply put, they don't work. Ohio spends over $100 million each year on this failed effort. It's time for marijuana reform, so law enforcement can spend their time cracking down on real criminals and making Ohio a safer place for our families. Vote yes on 3.
Cannabis culture goes way back, you dig? Way before hippies and beatniks and pigs. Back to hep cats like Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway, soulful dames like Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, all the way to old Blue Eyes and the Rat Pack. So come spark up a jazz cigarette and take a trip back to when marijuana was jive, muggles, reefer, and tea. It's the new Viper Hour, Daddy-O, see? The early 20th century archives of blues, jazz, and swing that define the cannabis culture and everything. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. and weekends at 1 a.m. Pacific on 420radio.org, the home for marijuana music. Yeah.
Imagine life without taxes. Let New Era Certified Public Accountants, NewEraCPAs.com, handle your Cannabusiness 280E and tax strategy. Get your business prepared with New Era CPA's Cannabis Finance Bootcamp. NewEraCPAs.com. With years of experience in the industry, we are one of the nation's leading accounting firms for growers, dispensaries, and ancillary companies from Washington to California. NewEraCPAs.com.
I'd like to start by saying that just because you either are already operating or are starting a cannabis cultivation facility does not mean that you're immune from some traditional legal issues. So I'm going to talk about a dozen of the most important legal issues facing cultivation facilities. And some of these are going to be traditional legal issues facing all businesses, and some of these are going to be specific to the cannabis industry. The first is location. Now, finding an adequate location for your grow facility poses a variety of different problems. And many of these issues may be things that you haven't thought of. First, you'll need to either have a cannabis-friendly landlord, or you must have the assets available to purchase the property. This in itself, and for a variety of reasons, is a major problem in Oregon, finding particularly landlords that are willing to work with our industry. Additionally, should you even be able to purchase the property through investment in your company, we need to be able to find cannabis-friendly insurance. And there are companies out there, but you need to be aware of it, and you need to have a cannabis-friendly underwriter. Finally, we still have the 1,000-foot buffer zone that you need to comply with. And they are relatively strict with these things. They will go out and measure. So I really stress, particularly if you're looking at purchasing the property, that you go out there and measure this to ensure that you're going to comply with the rule. Because you are not going to want to have property that's unusable. Another thing that you're going to want to consider with regard to location are the local zoning laws. Now, these may require either an application for rezoning for commercial use. Essentially, you'll want to, if you find adequate location, you'll want to see how it's currently zoned, and if you need to make changes, how you can do that. You'll also, if you're doing any construction or build out on the property, which many of you will be, particularly for indoor grow operations for the electrical requirements, you'll want to ensure that all of your the work is done by a licensed electrician, for example, and all the code requirements are complied with. Another consideration is that local communities can go through a process of opting out of the licensed and regulated marijuana production, processing, and sales. But local governments can't ban home grows. Now, most of what I'm talking about is going to be applicable to commercial grow operations. And the second thing that I want to, subject I want to go into for a moment is indoor versus outdoor grow operations. Oregon permits both in indoor and outdoor grow operations. However, as I just said, you'll have zoning regulations as well as production caps to consider. Now these could be used, the production caps could be used to stabilize the market price and avoid overproduction being diverted into the, I know you hate this word, but the black market. Additionally, if you are growing outdoor, plants should be behind a fence or a barrier. It's a violation similar to a traffic ticket to grow in the public view, but I think much more seriously, it presents a more serious security risk. The third issue you need to be aware of is water rights. Particularly for outdoor grow operations, there could be riparian rights issues, or in other words, watering restrictions and requirements for your land. And these could present themselves as priority rights, and the difference, you should be aware of the difference between senior and junior users of the water rights. You should also be aware of if the property is in a water district and what their rules are. Because your neighbors could conceivably have a priority in the use of the water that in drought years would prevent you from being able to use the water that you would need for your cultivation. Next is the subject of traceability, and certainly there is going to be governmental seed to sale tracking requirements that you will need to comply with. And this is for, with numerous governmental reporting and tax requirements. We don't know all of the requirements. This is one of the areas where we just simply don't know how the regulations are going to pan out until we know. And as Pete said, while he is not a member of the Oregon State Bar and can't give legal advice, I am a member of the Oregon State Bar, but I'm also not giving legal advice. I'm just pointing out the issues that you need to be aware of. Business structure is another potential legal concern for many producers. And as there may ultimately be requirements for either vertical or horizontal integration, we don't simply know yet. So the question that this poses, or could potentially pose, are would a grower need to be associated only with a single dispensary or affiliated dispensaries, or could a grower be free to distribute to multiple dispensaries? This is a question you should be asking when you go, if you go to the OLCC meetings. You should be wanting them to solidify these rules. Next, I spoke just for a moment on the potential for caps. Certainly, we're going to have caps on plants. I think under the current iteration of the rules, we're looking at probably 10,000 square feet for indoor, and what was the outdoor number?
30,000 greenhouse,
yeah.
60,000 outdoor.
So, but again, these are not the final rules, so could these change? Absolutely, but it's important to be aware of what they are, and it's important to be, even more important, to be aware that there are going to be caps. Next, and bear in mind, as Pete said, this is not, those caps are not going to affect home grow operations, but we're talking about commercial. So there's also going to be testing requirements for molds, pesticides, and other impurities. Again, we don't know what these rules are going to be. Certainly, the current talk within the OLCC suggests that they're more concerned about testing for pesticides than molds, but we'll have to wait and see what the regulations ultimately show. The licensing requirements Lee went into a bit, and I think Pete went into a bit. There's going to be licensing fees and application fees. You all know that. There's going to be an annual fee associated with the license. And currently, there's a 2-year state residency requirement, and as well as the fact that certain individuals with certain felonies cannot be associated with the grow operation. Next, the issue that I want to address is security. So what are the security requirements going to be? Again, we don't know exactly, but I think a good indication is to look to what Colorado grow operations are required to do. And in addition to controlled access into the facilities, they have a requirement that every single plant be covered by a camera. Not a single camera per plant, but all the plants have to be covered by cameras. Also, it's a good idea at the same time when you're thinking about these issues to also think about signage if you're using CO2 or if you have an oxygen-deprived environment for your plants, to have an appropriate signage that, for example, you're entering an oxygen-deprived environment. Also, as a grow operation, just as with any other business, you'll want to appropriately plan. This means having a well thought out business plan, as well as financial projections, your company structure, employee handbook, employee policies, payroll services. These are all things that you need to consider when you are starting your, if you're looking at expanding your grow operation into the new adult use market. And I spoke about this in Eugene. I spoke about the SEC regulations for those of you who are raising money for your cultivation facilities and operations. You need to understand what you need to do to raise capital lawfully. If you just start a C corporation and start selling stock, you very well may be fined or subject to criminal penalties for the sale of unregistered securities. So you'll want to know, are you exempt under Regulation D, which you need to know if your investors are accredited investors. So these are all very complex rules, and before you start raising money, it would be a good idea for you to consult with an attorney. And finally, the last major issue I want to go into is something I went into at length yesterday, which is intellectual property. These are considerable assets of your production facility, and these intellectual property rights, which are trademark copyrights, while you may at some day be able to acquire patents, you cannot currently. But within Oregon, for example, if you want to trademark your strain name, there's no prevention from you in doing that at the intra-state level. So your logo, your slogan, your name, all of those are assets that you should be protecting. But in addition, for example, if you do classes for growers, or if you have written materials on the methodology of growing, those are all things that can be protected by copyright as well. So the takeaway from the IP issue is that these are valuable assets. They should be treated as such. So I strongly advise you, whether you already have a cannabis operation, a growing operation, or whether you're starting one, that you consult with a qualified attorney before actually starting your business or expanding your business. I believe that the difference between the businesses that succeed in this industry and the ones that fail are going to be the planning that goes into the development of your business. The people say that success comes from luck. I would say that luck comes from hard work. So I think we'll open up the floor to questions.
Ted Rowe at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference. And that sound means it's time for us to take a break. It's 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone. Hope you have a chance to get to your next safety meeting. When we come back, we've got Electric Tuesday Daily Toker Tunes. Electric Bob coming up next.
This is Matt Abel, and you're listening to 420radio.org, live from HempFest.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
It's time for cannabis facts about Alzheimer's from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org. This message is supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. A new Florida study in the journal Molecular and Cellular Neuroscience found that cannabis promotes the growth of healthy new brain tissue. It can slow the effects of Alzheimer's and may in fact be able to halt it entirely. A long-term study by Ohio State University's Professor Gary Wenk concludes that people who regularly use marijuana get Alzheimer's at a much lower rate than others. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com.
Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the national organization for the reform of marijuana laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the fourth Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers. Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, time for our Daily Toker Tunes and Electric Bob on the Skype line. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Russ?
Oh, man, I'm having some fun. I'm getting into the massive Facebook and Twitter battles again, once again with the Ohio people, you know, who hate the idea of being legalized.
Yeah, who would know? Because if I didn't have a card, I wouldn't be facing a felony here if caught.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. And there's so many, one of the things they keep saying about this is it'd be a terrible precedent. It'd be a terrible precedent. We might set a precedent that rich people would go to other states and pay to make them legalized. Oh no. Oh no, I'm sure Idaho is hating that idea.
Yeah, I'm sure people in Alabama are hating it right now.
Yeah, oh no. I characterized it the other day as imagine that a wizard came to your town and said, For $50, I'll cast a spell that'll protect you and your home grow and let you have 8 ounces and give you a place to shop. But in exchange, I'm going to get rich off that $50. Would you turn that wizard down?
Nah, I'm good. If he wants to make money, let him make money.
Yeah. It's going to make the smell of marijuana be invisible to police officers and dogs. Nope, I don't want that. That'd be... Anyway, sorry to get off topic, man. I get so riled up by some of these people sometimes. But how you doing? What's happening down there in Arizona?
It's finally cooling off. It's 95 today. Yay.
Oh, you're in the double digits finally.
Yeah, double digits.
That's nice. 95 is tolerable. Well, it is getting, toward fall and everything. How about the legalization campaigns down there? Making much noise?
They got more signatures. They're what's that word I'm looking for? They think by July they're probably going to have more than they need.
That's
and
great.
mindful regulation people, they're still doing what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the way it seems to be going, is that a lot of these states have 2 legalization options. One is the professional funded, nationally backed one, and the other one is the locals who want true legalization, who have no funding and no signatures and nothing. So same verse, same as the first, right? Next verse, same as the first.
Yeah, old boss, same as the new boss.
There you go. All right, well, tell us about this song. And the one I've got loaded here, just to be sure, it says it's called Meeker, Warmer Energy. Do I got the right track?
No, it's
okay, let me get it.
Portlandtopia.
Okay, let me look there. Get the right track going. There it is. Portlandtopia. Oh, that sounds good. Who's behind this one?
It's my buddy out of New Orleans. He remixed the Portlandia theme.
A remix of the IFC TV show theme from the show Portlandia, which, by the way, as someone who lives in Portland, it's satire, but not by much.
Yeah, not by much. I'll have to come visit out there sometime. I'm getting tired of Arizona.
Yeah. Now, is this guy on your record label?
Yeah, he's on both of them. And I just hit 1,000 followers on my Dark Till Dawn record label.
Oh, that's great. Dark Till Dawn Records. Check them out. You're on SoundCloud, right?
Yeah, I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all of them.
All
right. Tumblr. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere.
Far out, man. And for tonight at 8 o'clock, as part of our regular weekday 8 p.m. music show lineup, Electric Bob's Boogaloo will be on. We got an hour of non-stop mix. What do you got for tonight?
It's a mix I did last night, and I set it to some footage from a 1995 rave. So it's a mix I did with footage from 20 years ago.
90s rave footage, and all right, that'll be really cool. Let's get to the tune here. Give us the name of the artist again and the tune.
Spam Kid.
Spam Kid with Portlandtopia. Take it easy, Electric Bob. We'll talk to you next week.
420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. The Fingerboard extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The Fingerboard extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone and Recording King banjos. The Fingerboard extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com. Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome. At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Thank you. I think I speak for everybody when we say we really appreciate your presence and your work, and you guys are amazing, so thank you. Anthony Johnson had mentioned that the fees for licensing for recreational were increased to upwards of $4,500. Has that been codified? Is there any chance in the legislature that could be reduced?
That is a function of the rulemaking process. So you probably, and the rules have not been finalized yet. You probably know that the legislature passes laws to create policy, but the implementing agency of government, and in this instance, OLCC is doing it as to rec and Oregon Health Authority as to medical, is coming up with fee structures and things like that to cover their reasonable costs. Now, there was actually a fair amount of back and forth during the legislative session in which advocates like the two of us and Representative Buckley and others were trying to make the point that, look, you know, our mission is to support moving this industry into the regulated sector, and if we create fees and costly burdens to comply that are so high, people aren't going to want to participate in it. So I think that it's not yet been finalized what the fee structure is going to be, because November, I believe, is the date by which the Oregon Liquor Control Commission Board is going to be planning to vote on interim rules. Those are just for an interim period while they create final rules, and the legislature does have the capacity to check and provide guidance back if we feel like the fee structure, and if you communicate to us that the fee structure is totally undermining our ability to have this legal sector work.
Yeah, it's very imperative that you on the ground, as much as you gave us input at the legislature through this rule-making process, it is essential that they are hearing from you as individuals, and I would tell you to not be sending farm letters and stuff. Speak from your own practice, your own business models, and letting them know how this is going to impact you as an Oregonian, because what we're trying to do is make sure we have an economic driver here that's going to move us forward in the next 10 to 15 years, because we are marked right now, we're branded. It's for us to lose our opportunity to actually be a leader in this country if we allow for over-regulation to occur.
51% of ownership, was that 51% of the license or the property that's going on?
Once again, that is something that the OLCC has decided to introduce based on their interpretation of the statutes that we passed this session. I think this upcoming legislative days, it's not finalized yet. A lot of people have expressed grave concern about that. this upcoming legislative days, we're going to hear an update. Our Marijuana Legalization Committee, our new name, is going to hear an update from OLCC and also industry members, including Anthony Johnson and I believe maybe Mowgli Holmes, Sarah Batterby of Women Grow, and Amy Margolis, if they're all available, are going to speak on behalf of industry about whether they feel okay about that. And if they say, gosh, we're really concerned about that structure because it's going to preclude our ability to get the kind of investment we need, then that will help us communicate with OLCC about whether they're on the right track. Again, we have until November before they're going to finalize and vote on rules. That structure is in some drafts, and I think it means 51% of the equity interest in your business must be held by Oregon residents. But whether or not that's a good idea is still subject to discussion. Yeah. And I think you're saying you don't think it's a good idea, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And let me just follow up on that as well. This is one of those areas that when you look at the Cole memo as to what our, let's say, obligations are to ensure that the federal government is not going to come in and somehow try to preempt us. This is something that was definitely discussed in committees, and I think we'll have to really look at the actual language as it finally came out as to what flexibility OLCC is going to have. I personally will tell you that I think it's important that we ensure that Oregonians that are here that have been part of this process are not cut off in the front days of this activity as it moves forward. And so from my perspective, I want to ensure that we do what we can to make certain that we control the sources of what's coming into the state as to how it can in fact impact not only individuals in the state, but also I think the program as a whole, because of how it could be overran and prospectively lose a lot of, let's say, our ability to ensure Oregonians actually having an opportunity to maintain their position in the market.
I just have a quick statement and a question. I just want to thank you guys very much. I run a herbal infused products company in Southern Oregon, including a dispensary. And one of the things I've really noticed is there's people that can't afford to be on the medical marijuana program and have debilitating conditions, and we're serving them, and thank you very much for allowing dispensaries for safe access. But there's many, many people that I would argue are self-medicating, that can't afford the expensive program, can't afford the time. You know, they've just been diagnosed with cancer, or they're afraid of being on a list, or they just want an arthritis cream, and they want to explore something. So as you're making decisions about co-location, I would argue that this is all about healing. Secondly, I just wanted to point out that my city, Breeze Botanicals, is located in Gold Hill, and the city councilors tied a 5% sales tax on medical marijuana to fund a public safety fund, because they were assuming our patients would cause crime in the community. And it's been 14 months, and they have not increased crime in the community. And I wanted to know, now that the state can be the sole taxing authority and have allowed 3% on recreational, is this 5% tax on patients legal? And what are your opinions as policymakers? And just wanted you to talk to that, because it's not really fair.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'd love to maybe catch you afterwards to get a little bit more information. I understand you said Gold Hill, and you're saying that they actually have a tax currently on the medical dispensaries for sales? Okay, so the statement was that apparently Gold Hill had it for 14 months and then they just repealed it, but there looks like there's some community uprising over that and they may be reconsidering it.
Yeah, and not as a result of anything me as a business owner or our patients have done. We have not increased crime. We have all the statistics to show that, but just because they like the money. And it's been very comfortable. And they have not increased police presence in the community. We have not received any economic gain, or protection, so.
We will look at that, because the way I look at this is the day that we allow for medical marijuana to be taxed, then that means any other medicine that's sold in this state should be equally taxed. And let me make it very clear, I do not believe any medicine any medicine should be taxed. It needs to be available for patients to be able to access, and this type of money grab is the type of things that we need to ensure doesn't happen. And I'm not sure under what authority that they feel that they have that, because I thought the way we had this written and the way we've always moved forward is that there's no taxation on medical products, including cannabis. So, yeah, and the other thing I wanted to follow up, this was the second part. I thought Anthony was answering a question and the co-location came up. Realize that the reason that we have co-location right now, or we'll have it in October, is this is the means that we could actually make recreational marijuana available. There has been and it is within the statutes and the law that we passed, that we are keeping the system separate at this point. And one of the reasons I supported that is because we've had medical marijuana in this state. Actually, it was passed in 98, came into effect in 99. I had the opportunity to be one of the advisors on that work group that put together that initiative. And after having 14 years of that program up and running, what I don't want to see is it somehow being jeopardized. And that's why we're going to see this process moving. So we're going to be moving forward, and it's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit more deliberative. And again, it's one of those things that I would have been pleased if Oregon could have been on the cutting edge as Colorado and Washington State. We weren't. So why not learn from what they did as to what worked and what didn't work? And at the same time, we will see, I think, a greater discussion in the future. And this may be that test that we're going through now to see if co-location in the future will, in fact, have its place here in Oregon.
Hi, you had mentioned about transplant patients not being able to have access to transplants if they had a card. And I was wondering if you could just expand that just a tiny bit.
Sure. I think, well, to be clear, what I was trying to say is prior to this legislative session, it was our understanding that if you were on a transplant wait list and you indicated that you were a medical cannabis user, that acknowledgement could make you ineligible for a transplant. And we thought, hey, that's wrong, because if we believe that medical cannabis is good for treating pain, and other conditions people have when they're sick, we shouldn't prevent the very people who are sick from being able to use it. So what we passed said, using medical cannabis cannot, without more, rule you out from having an organ transplant. So if that's not what you heard, then that was my error of communication, but that's what I intended to say. Right.
Yeah, my understanding, we clarified that would not be make someone ineligible for getting the transplant. I mean, again, you look at this particular medicine, compare it to other type of pharmaceutical medicines, Vicodin, Oxycontin, whatever it is, those individuals aren't being, let's say, taken off the list of a transplant because of the medicine they're using.
Senate Bill 844 is the one that includes that. So if you want to go check it out, that's a good starting place.
Hello, my name is Ben McInnes, and I first want to thank both you guys for all your dedication and hard work over the years. Thank you so much. And then in response, just because I heard it, I just want to acknowledge and thank Jim Clark, who's died, for his years of dedication, and probably a good piece of the reason why that was put in place. So remember Jim Clark, thank you. And I just heard, I was yesterday speaking to some of the people, or one particular person at the OLCC, and they were under the understanding that there was going to be going directly to the district attorney's office, any complaints that were going to be through OLCC program and potentially also through the medical marijuana program for growers, processors. And I was wondering if you'd heard that, or if it'll say, or why that would come to existence, or if that's something that I'm ignorant to that might be better. But I was a little concerned about complaints going direct to the DA's office. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, I I think a crucial thing is during the rulemaking process where the agency comes out with specific details of how to implement the law that we passed in the last session, complaints about whether you like the draft rules very legitimately go to the agency that's making the rules or to us, the legislature, so that we can help share that we think it's either on track or off track. So as to rulemaking, which is actually incredibly important to your interests right now, so we shouldn't stop paying attention or stop being involved. It's okay to share your views with them and with us so we can convey your views. As to violations of law, once the statute is up and running, it depends on what law is being violated. If someone's causing a nuisance because they're really loud at night, in their business, just like for all other businesses, you would be able to complain, I guess, to your police department, right? If someone, was making, so you would have that option. If someone was a city agency was systematically failing to issue licenses that they were supposed to issue and coming up with smokescreen reasons why an application was not adequate, then you would complain in a different way. So it really depends on what the thing is that has gone wrong, where you will voice concern.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a little more clarification? Because what I think I'm hearing is that you believe that some type of
medically, if someone was in violation of a compliance inspection, either medically or recreationally, that they would, instead of handing internally through the OLCC or through the Oregon Health Authority, that they were talking about, that they would be directly required to notify the DA and transfer over that instead of on a compliance issue, go to it. And I disagreed with that, and I didn't quite understand it, and that they were coming from a position of authority, and so I just wanted to know if that had any basis in reality whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that's not my understanding of where we're going forward, because this is a regulatory system, that it will be OLCC that would be fielding those complaints. Unless it was something on the medical side, then it'd be OHA. Whether or not a district attorney's office would come involved would be a fact question depending on what the situation is. Clearly, under the current laws that we have, if someone is in violation of the criminal law, that is where you would see the path go potentially. But in the sense of just outright regulations or violations of a regulation that OLCC puts in, there is nothing that I know of. And I just had my opportunity to meet with the executive director and one of his chief assistants on just kind of the rolling out of what they're planning on doing, as Ann said, their schedule. I know they're still working on the rules, and that did not come up at any part of our discussion about shifting automatically any complaint to I'm going to just say to the law enforcement side of the venture. It'd have to be criminal.
Right, and in fact, I know that Anthony Johnson worked hard on this issue. We worked hard together to make sure that the whole goal is to move away from the criminal enforcement system, right, for legal cannabis and into civil enforcement. So if you violate a condition of your permit, then just like in any business, you might get a fine, or if you create a super ongoing violation and you're totally you're unwilling to fix it, you might lose your license. But I think our shared desire in Oregon is that we want to move towards civil enforcement and away from criminalization, and that should be reflected in how we handle complaints.
Hi, I'm John Lucy. I own Law 420. I'm an attorney here in Portland, and I'd like to thank the representatives for all the hard work they did last session. A lot of that work has actually saved some of my clients both prison sentences as well as large sums of money from having to deal with the criminal justice system. One of the things that came out of House Bill 3400, though, that I've been dealing with, particularly in the courts, is the fact marijuana is legal now for adults. But all of those criminal records in the past, all of those still are outstanding, simple possessions, deliveries, manufactures, those sorts of things. And the bill 3400 allows for clients now to have those removed from their record sealed or expunged. But one of the things that's a barrier for many, many, many people, particularly people who have simple possessions or small delivery cases, lawyer fees. They've got to pay someone to do all this. They've got to pay the state the record fee of $80. They've got to pay $252 to have a simple possession ticket removed that might have cost them $650. And for most people, spending $1,000 to $1,500 to have something removed from their record, that's a very, very large expense for most people. And one of the things that I really want to push the legislature to do and push Oregon to do is, yes, marijuana is legal. Yes, now you can have your record removed. One of the things that I'd like to see is a purging of the records. I'd like to see all of those tickets from the 60s, the 70s, the minor possessions, those sorts of things. Instead of requiring everyone to come through my door and ask me to get this done, I'd like to see a push to eliminate the fee, something we did for record sealing before for arrests. It used to be you had to pay to even have an arrest moved. But for all of these people who are looking for jobs, who are looking to make their lives better, I have people come in every week right now, and there are people who are scrounging together $500, $1,000, $1,500 to get these things done. But if marijuana is legal, if that's where we're at, and that's the way things should be, then I want to push the legislature to either reduce the cost of getting these things removed from your record, or I want to push them to simply have them purged and simply say, next year, we're going to sit down and we're going to take out marijuana possessions. If you got a marijuana possession as an adult, it shouldn't exist anymore, and people shouldn't have to pay for that.
So be very frank, I don't remember everything we actually got into 3400 regarding that area. That was one of the areas that we really were looking at. I can tell you that this, if it's not there now, some of the stuff we are trying to do is bring other colleagues along who are, let's say, scared straight right now as to what's happening around them because their whole world has changed from what they knew as what their comfort was. I do expect that you will see us continuing. This committee is not going to, it was not only for one session, it's going to continue. And these type of issues are the ones that we need to hear more from as to how we can actually make it interface easier and better for people. I do think that you'll see for at least some of the simple possession type and smaller type of convictions, that those would be probably the first ones that would be up for that type of treatment. We do know for a fact that unfortunately, and this is one of the things I know that we talked about on the mantra of how individuals cannot actually move forward in life with those type of burdens on their shoulders, be it a student who's trying to get a grant or a loan that's federally funded, or someone trying to get into an apartment that has a background check ran. So you'll see more movement on that. Hopefully it will be sooner than later.
I wanted to let you know that in addition to Gold Hill, I got a call last week from somebody in La Pine who I know also contacted the ACLU about an illegal sales tax on a medical marijuana dispensary there. And I also wanted to share with you that, actually I wanted to follow up on what John said. A lot of the district attorney's offices and courts post online the forms, so you don't necessarily need to hire John or I to do this, and the filing fee is $252. There is this $80 fee, but that can be it if you could figure out the forms yourself. The last thing I wanted to mention was about the fees. I haven't been going to the RAC meetings. I have a law clerk, Edgar Diaz, who's here, who's been attending those, but I haven't gone to the OLCC meetings, the monthly meetings, and what they've been saying is the reason for the increase in the fee is that the legislature required the adult use, which is, by the way, our preferred term for the sales and program, the adult use program to be self-funding within OLCC. So I'm wondering, do you see any possible change of that could affect, these increased, fourfold increase in fees between Measure 91 and the OLCC rules?
I think we are in a real fact-gathering moment. I think that there is strong support among the two of us, and I would say among the whole committee, to not have fees be set at so prohibitively high a rate that it wrecks our chance to support a really strong industry. I think we also don't want to write a blank check to any government agency to say, define your fee as whatever you feel like you need to cover the costs of your agency, but don't worry about how high those costs get. We don't want agencies to over-regulate or overstaff and then put extreme fees on the regulated community so that it costs you a whole bunch. I think we need to figure out, our assumption is that as the market matures, there will be more tax revenue that comes in, there will be more participants in the market, and some of these really expensive startup costs are going to be one-time costs. I think we made an upfront contribution of funds that I believe by law can be repaid through tax revenue to help address this issue, but there's kind of a question of fact. And people are expressing, I think it's unclear how everybody is calculating what costs are, but I think there is a strong sentiment on the committee that we need to make sure that you're not burdened with such high costs that you can't be successful, the good people can't get into the industry, and that lots of businesses go into the unregulated market. If it turns out that costs are going to be exorbitantly high, I think the legislature will take action. And I think we're still trying to figure out what those costs are going to be, and I have heard OLCC articulate some numbers, and I think we need to figure out what those costs are really going to be.
And just quickly before we adjourn for the break, these are the envelopes to donate to Senator Prozanski and Representative Leininger. So, you know, let's put our money where our mouth is. Even just $50, $100 is going to do something. These are the type of, this is what we need to do, is support these people. I support them myself, and I actually expect you guys to support them in some way.
The Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference, Representative Ann Leininger and Senator Floyd Prozanski taking questions from the audience, including John Lucy, the legal counsel for Portland Normal, and Leland Berger from Oregon Cannabis Compliance Council, good friends of the show. That's all the time we got for today's show. But tomorrow's show, we've got plenty of good stuff for you, including Doug Fine with our Hump Day update. And as we go out, I'm reading this story on IFL Science that says scientists create yeast that produces THC. You thought the bottom of the green rush was going to fall before. Oh my God. Yeast that produces THC will crash the price of weed like crazy. For everyone here at Roland J Studios, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.